We're over halfway through the 2020s, and it has been a wild decade for the NFL. Things right now look way different than they did back in the 2010s. Some teams have kept up their success, some have found new success, and some have fallen off a cliff. In this video, I'm going to be ranking the top 10 teams throughout the 2020s so far, taking into account total record, playoff success, Super Bowl titles, and more. If you enjoyed this video, then please drop a like and subscribe if you're new. Subscribe takes just a second, and it really helps me out. Thank you, and let's get started. Number 10, Cincinnati Bengals. The Bengals haven't had the most success in recent years. In fact, they haven't made the playoffs since 2022, and they have just the 16th highest win rate of the decade. However, it's what they've done in the playoffs that allows them to just crack the top 10. They're one of only 8 teams to have made a Super Bowl in this decade, which they did in 2021, though lost to the Rams. And they also made a conference championship again in 2022, where they lost to the Chiefs. Their 5 playoff wins are the 7th most in the decade, and they've also won their division twice. They have had offensive talent to be a perennial playoff team. Joe Burrow is one of the best quarterbacks of the decade, and Ja'Marr Chase and T. Higgins have been a dominant wide receiving duo. Their defense, especially in recent years, have been what's held them back, as they were bottom 10 in points allowed per game in both 2024 and 2025. That, plus Joe Burrow has had injury problems in both 2023 and 2025 that have prevented them from getting back to their 2021 and 22 level. While the recent success hasn't been there, this team did have an incredible 2-year stretch and have gone significantly farther in the playoffs than most this decade. Number 9, Baltimore Ravens. The division rivals of the Bengals come in just slightly ahead because while they haven't reached a Super Bowl like the Bengals, they have had more consistent success in both the regular season and in the playoffs. They've made the playoffs 4 out of the 6 years of the 2020s so far and have won 3 playoff games, making it as far as the conference championship in 2023. They've also been one of the better regular season teams as they've had the 5th highest winning percentage of the decade and won their division twice. Their success has of course been driven by Lamar Jackson, the best dual threat quarterback in NFL history. However, he has also had his fair share of injury problems like Joe Burrow, mainly in 2022 and 2025. This team is going to be way different in 2026 as John Harbaugh is out and Jesse Minter has taken over head coaching duties, so it'll be interesting to see what a Harbaugh-less Ravens team looks like. The only real blemish on the Ravens is the fact that they haven't made the Super Bowl, but they have had enough success to earn themselves the 9th spot. Number 8, Green Bay Packers. The Packers have been one of the best regular season teams of the decade. They've made the playoffs 5 times in 6 years, only missing once in 2022, and are also tied with the Philadelphia Eagles for the 3rd highest winning percentage. However, they've only won 2 playoff games in that span, once in 2020 and once in 2023. They did make the conference championship in that 2020 season, but still, only winning 2 playoff games in 6 years is only going to get you so high. However, this team still has done more than most, and the way they went about it was extremely impressive, almost seamlessly transitioning from Hall of Fame quarterback Aaron Rodgers to 2020 first-round pick Jordan Love, who played extremely well in his 3 years of starting. Matt LaFleur has also been the head coach this entire decade as he was hired in 2019 and has done a great job with this team, especially the offense, as they've been a top half scoring offense each year of this decade so far. Their defense has also been very good, only dipping in the bottom half once in 2022 and just barely as they were 17th. No Super Bowl appearances and 2 playoff wins do drag the Packers below some others, but they still have been a very good team this decade. Number 7, San Francisco 49ers. The 49ers have sort of been the Buffalo Bills of the NFC, getting so close numerous times but just failing to get it done. Since 2020, they made the playoffs 4 times, reaching at least the conference championship 3 times. They even reached a Super Bowl in 2023, but lost to the Kansas City Chiefs. Their 7 playoff wins are 4th among all teams, and they are one of only 8 teams to reach a Super Bowl this decade. But while they have found playoff success, it's both their lack of a Super Bowl title and regular season performance that lands them at 7. Relative to some other teams we'll get to, and even a couple teams you've already discussed, the 49ers haven't been great in the regular season. They're tied for 8th in winning percentage with 2 other teams, the Bucks and Rams, and are tied with or below every team on this list besides the Bengals. And both teams they're tied with have Super Bowl titles. Unfortunately, a big part of the 49ers as of recently have been their injury problems. Both the 2024 and 2025 Niners were plagued by injuries, so much so that people started coming up with theories for why this was the case, landing on an electrical substation near the practice field. But despite the injury problems, the 49ers have had a lot of positives. They managed to find their franchise quarterback in Brock Purdy with the last pick of the 2022 draft, and Kyle Shanahan is without a doubt a top 3 head coach in the NFL still. Though they haven't gotten it done, the 49ers still have been one of the best teams in the 2020s, especially in the playoffs, and I wouldn't be surprised if by the end of the decade, the 49ers have hosted their 6th Lombardi. Number 6, Buffalo Bills. The last team on this list to have not won a Super Bowl, the Bills are easily the best team that hasn't gotten it done. Let's just start with the elephant in the room. The Bills have the highest winning percentage among all teams in the 2020s. They haven't had under 11 wins in a season this entire decade, and 2025 was the only year they didn't win their division. They've also won at least one playoff game in every season this decade, and their 8 playoff wins are tied for the second most among all teams. However, what keeps the Bills out of the top 5 is their inability to get it done in the playoffs. The farthest the Bills have gotten is the conference championship twice in 2020 and 2024, and they haven't even reached a Super Bowl. And yes, while Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs have mostly been the cause of that, the Bills have fallen short even when Mahomes wasn't involved. In 2022, they lost by double digits in the divisional round to Joe Burrow and the Cincinnati Bengals, and in 2025, with no Lamar Jackson, Joe Burrow, or Patrick Mahomes present in the playoffs, the Bills still couldn't get past the divisional round, losing to Bo Nix and the Denver Broncos by 3. I think the Bills' lack of success comes from their inability to properly build around Josh Allen and forcing him to play flawless football in order to win. And while a lot of the times they do win and Allen does carry them, that's not a good method to win in the playoffs, and we've seen that. Stefon Diggs is the only 1,000-yard receiver the Bills have had this decade, and their defense is known for falling apart in playoff games. While the Bills have been a great team, I simply cannot put them above teams that have won a Super Bowl when the Bills haven't reached one themselves. But for their sake, hopefully they break through soon. Number 5, Seattle Seahawks. The most recent Super Bowl champions kick off the top 5 and are the first team on this list to have won a title. Out of all the champions in this decade, the Seahawks are pretty comfortably the worst. That doesn't mean that 2025 was a flash in the pan. The Seahawks have still been a really good team. They have the 6th highest winning percentage out of all teams and have only finished below 9 wins once. However, they have only made the playoffs 3 times and only won 3 playoff games, all in 2025. Though they did miss the playoffs in 2023 despite going 9-8, and even missed the playoffs in 2024 despite going 10-7. They were a playoff caliber team in those years, but unfortunate circumstances caused them to not make the cutoff. This team has found success despite having 3 different quarterbacks this decade. Russell Wilson finished his Seahawks career in 2021 before Geno Smith took over in 2022 and revived his own career, leading the Seahawks to at least 9 wins in each of his 3 seasons. But in 2025, the Seahawks switched to Sam Darnold, who was just coming off a career revival of his own, and he led the Seahawks all the way to the Super Bowl. Mike McDonald has also emerged as one of the best head coaches in the league after being hired in 2024, and his unique defensive scheme he had developed in Baltimore has become one of the most prominent schemes in the league. Overall, while the Seahawks don't necessarily have the consistent playoff success you would think from a top 5 team of a decade, they are just one of 5 teams to have won a Super Bowl and have still been a very good team throughout the 2020s. Number 4, Tampa Bay Buccaneers. While the Seahawks were the latest team to win a Super Bowl this decade, the Bucs kicked it off as they won their 2nd title in 2020, the year they signed Tom Brady. But 2020 wasn't a flash in the pan, as they made the playoffs 5 times this decade, their only time missing coming in 2025. They've also won their division 4 times, and their 6 playoff wins are tied for 5th. However, they haven't advanced beyond the division route since their Super Bowl run, and in the regular season haven't been the best, as they're tied for the 8th highest winning percentage with the 49ers and Rams. Their success throughout the decade has come due to a fairly seamless transition between Tom Brady and, of all people, Baker Mayfield, who revived his career in Tampa and has been playing very well for them. They admittedly have benefited from playing in a weak division. For example, in 2024, they won their division going 10-7, while the Seahawks missed the playoffs despite also going 10-7. But the Bucs still have been a pretty consistently good team throughout the decade, and though they had a little hiccup in 2025, I bet they'll be right back in the playoff mix soon. Number 3, Los Angeles Rams. The Rams are the final team in the cluster of teams tied for 8th in winning percentage, but they have had by far the most playoff success out of those teams. The Rams have made the playoffs 5 times this decade, their only time missing it coming in 2022 due to an extremely injury-riddled season. But their 8 playoff wins are tied for the 2nd most along with the Buffalo Bills, and they of course made and won the Super Bowl in 2021. But they've also won playoff games in 3 other seasons, making it as far as the conference championship in 2025. Since 2021, Matthew Stafford has led this team at quarterback, and he's been one of the best in the NFL, even winning an MVP in 2025. Sean McVay has been the best head coach in the NFL, and 5th-round pick Puka Nacua has replaced Cooper Kupp perfectly. And while it's not being taken into account too much, it has to be noted that the Rams are currently by far the best team in the NFL entering 2026, as they just traded for Myles Garrett, the best overall player in the league. Though they are aging and likely won't be able to keep this level of play up for much longer, so far the Rams have been dominant this decade, and we'll see how far they can go in 2026. Number 2, Philadelphia Eagles. The first team on this list to have reached multiple Super Bowls in the 2020s, the Eagles have been the best NFC team in this decade so far. They're tied with the Packers for the 3rd highest winning percentage and have won their division 3 times and have made the playoffs 5 times. Their 6 playoff wins are tied for the 4th most, and like I mentioned, they made the Super Bowl twice. In 2022, they lost to the Kansas City Chiefs by just 3 points, but in 2024, they got revenge, blowing up the Chiefs in what was one of the most lopsided Super Bowls we've seen. At one point, the Eagles were up 34-0, and there was no climbing out of that hole. The Eagles have been led by Jalen Hurts, who has had his up and down moments in the regular season, but has always been at his best when it matters most in the playoffs. The Eagles have also done a fantastic job at building around Hurts, whether it was drafting Devontae Smith, trading for A.J. Brown, signing Saquon Barkley, putting together a consistently great offensive line, or building a phenomenal defense. Jalen Hurts has never been forced to carry this team like the way, say, Josh Allen has for his team, and that philosophy has led to more playoff success as a whole. The Eagles were an easy choice for the best NFC team, and if it wasn't for the one team that has won multiple Super Bowls this decade, they may have been number one. Number 1, Kansas City Chiefs. I think most people probably saw this coming, as the Chiefs are the only team to have won multiple Super Bowls this decade, but their number 1 ranking doesn't just come from that. They've been great everywhere. They have the second highest winning percentage among all teams this decade, only behind the Buffalo Bills. They've also won their division and have made the playoffs 5 times, only missing it once in 2025, and in the playoffs, they've been almost unstoppable. Their 13 playoff wins blow every other team out of the water, as they've reached at least the conference championship game in all 5 of their playoff appearances, and reached a Super Bowl 4 times. They lost in 2020 to Tom Brady's Buccaneers, but came back in 2022 to beat the Eagles, repeated in 2023 beating the Niners, before losing in 2024 to the Eagles. Obviously, their success is headlined by Patrick Mahomes, who's been easily the best quarterback of the decade, and Andy Reid, who's been one of the best coaches of the decade. What's been so credible about the Chiefs has been their ability to adjust, especially on offense. In 2022, they lost Tyreek Hill, but that didn't stop them from winning a Super Bowl the next year, and it's pretty well documented by now how the NFL changed the entire defensive meta to try and stop Mahomes from destroying them deep, so the Chiefs just adjusted their offensive philosophy to a more dink and duck approach and still made 3 Super Bowls in a row. It's absolutely no question that the Chiefs have been the best team of the decade so far, and though they did have a down year in 2025, if Patrick Mahomes can get back healthy, I would expect them to come right back to where they've been this entire decade. But that's it. Those are my top 10 teams throughout the 2020s so far. Where do you agree? Where do you disagree? Comment below. If you enjoyed this video, then please drop a like and subscribe if you're new, and that's it for me. See ya.